Welcome back to the Rings, Wings, and Cozy Things podcast.
I'm Meg.
I'm Emma.
And today we have a really exciting thing to share with you. We have an author interview.
Yay! Our first one.
Yes, of many, we hope.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the interview. Does it work?
How about now?
Yay!
We gotcha.
And that's going to be the thumbnail. It's just us getting really excited about sound. Like, actually, that should be a meme. The moment when
all the technology comes together.
when all the technology finally works.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hello.
It asked me right before I got on, do you want to turn the mic off of your phone? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't need the mic on my phone. But then that evidently messed up everything. So
You know what? Yeah, you just did one thing too many, and that was it. Yeah. Well, so thank you so much for meeting with us. We were so excited about this.
So happy to have you.
I'm excited too. This is my first podcast, so be nice to me.
Oh, cool. This is our second episode, so bear with us.
There we
Yeah. We pretty much, Emma and I have been friends for a couple of years now, and we just really like talking about books. So we thought maybe other people want to listen to us talk about books. And then we're like, maybe we want to talk to authors about their process and things like that. So we won't stump you too much, I promise.
Sweet.
I have to tell you though, I was so excited to read your book because there's just not a lot of Greek mythology style books out on the market right now, I don't feel like. And Greek mythology used to be like, besides Tudor England, I was obsessed with like the Titanic, Henry VIII, and like the entire Odyssey. Like it was just like that was pretty much me. Oh, and then Lord of the Rings, if you just sprinkle that one in there. But it's that high epic fantasy, like long story thing. I loved. And so getting to read this and it also having, gods that I also really love too, it was so good. It was so good. So Emma, you had a question. Did you want to start with a question?
Yes. So
I'm curious.
We are here with Katie Stark, and we are talking about your new upcoming book, Where Darkness Bloomed. I was coming into this with as much Greek mythology as Percy Jackson allowed my brain to absorb. So as someone with that amount of knowledge, would you recommend knowing a little bit more going into it, or is that fine?
Yeah, so that's a great question, first off. And I think that's one of the things that if you don't have just sort of a low-key obsession with Greek mythology stretching way back when, like I do, it can be a little bit daunting probably.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things that I had talked to my editor a lot about, and my editor, Jess, who's just fantastic. We had discussed the on-ramp, is what we called it, the on-ramp, like to make sure the reader knows like what's going on and what's up and what's happening. I do think it helps to have a little bit of knowledge. But I will say, I think that was one of the things, one of her biggest and most helpful pieces of advice was, here's a way to help it connect to the reader so that even if they don't know exactly this person's intricate role is in 15 different myths, you know, that they at least have a strong nexus of what's happening to the character, what's going on, and why that's important, which I think is really what you need as a reader to appreciate the story. So all that to say, I think a little bit of background probably makes it for a richer story, probably makes for richer reading and more immersive reading. But I do think that, and I give full credit to Jess, I think that Jess did such a great job in just kind of helping me figure out the on-ramp for that.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because we're on opposite ends. Like she has very limited and I had tons, and you guys are completely right. Like it does matter, but like it doesn't negatively impact the journey. It just shifts it a little bit.
Because I was gonna say I got to 73% and I haven't been super confused. I've figured it out and I'm digging it. I'm really liking it.
Oh yeah.
I've never, but like same to she kind of knows the Hades and Persephone story and kind of knows the like Achilles story. I didn't have no idea. This is all brand spanking new. And it's
so exciting
for me.
Yeah. So when we were talking about it, like I was going on about how I loved how you integrated this different storylines together, because like having grown up in, the early 2000s, like I was obsessed with all of those types of big blockbuster gladiator movies,
Oh,
but to
thanks.
like actually have like Helen and Achilles like interact like is actually really fascinating to read. Like I was like,
Good.
that's crazy, but I love it. I want this so much. But also having the, you know, above, you know, like the on the mortal plane, on the immortal plane, like dichotomy was really fun too, because it's just as messed up there as it is down here.
For sure. That's what Greek mythology is, right? It's this like ongoing drama, like days of our lives, but you're dealing with gods. And like I was telling my husband, who's been my sounding board throughout this whole process. So Garrett knows, his name's Garrett. He knows more Greek mythology than he ever wanted to know at this point. But I'm like, okay, so this person, and he gets with this person, but she's also this person's mother, and that becomes important later because you know, it's just you can just go and go and go and go and go. So it's kind of a ball of yarn, but it's fun because when you pull one string here, it sort of ripples away. You know, and getting to chase those ripples and kind of see them play out the way that I want them to play out because I'm the author.
Yeah, you want
really fun.
License, do it up.
Right, but I also think I will say with the caveat, I think that was one of the main things I wanted to do when I started writing the book, preserve the bones, because I think that's also having that familiarity as a person who loves Greek mythology. When you see you see a portion of the myth that you recognize, you're like, you know, that's where this happens. And there's this cool sense of foreboding where you're like, oh, you know, I know it's coming, sort of. So it's good.
Yeah. No, and it also made me feel like very comfortable with the shocks and twists because I was like, I knew some of that, but I didn't know all of it. Like it was like I'm along for the ride and I'm not lost. I really loved it. And when there'd be names that pop up, I get excited.
I remember the guy with the wings on his feet.
Hermes.
Yes, I remember him from Percy Jackson. I was so excited. I was like,
there we go.
I was so excited.
I like that that's what you remember.
I know. I was like, I remember that because they had to use his sandals to try to get the pearl out of the
Lord. See, and I didn't do Percy Jackson. That was like just at the cusp of where I like kind of moved on with life. And so I'm thinking of Hercules, of Troy, of reading the Odyssey, relating the Iliad. Like that's what I remember. So and actually that was going to be my question is, you had a natural love for Greek mythology? Is that what drew you specifically to writing this book in that way? Like having that as its main backdrop?
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, the book, when I started writing Where Darkness Bloomed, it didn't start out as I'm going to write this book and try to get it published. Not like my day job, I'm an attorney. But, you know, it started really just as a messy sort of passion project back when I was working full time as an attorney, where I, you know, the day in and day out on that life is kind of, so I really needed a creative outlet. And I've always loved Greek mythology, and I've read, I think there's quite a few retellings of the Hades Persephone myth specifically. It's such a good one, and it's sort of captivating because you've got this really evocative story of this, you know, Lord of the Underworld coming up and stealing the goddess of spring, who just captures his, you know, I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast. It's just very evocative.
So good.
Yeah, and so I've read quite a few retellings over it, and people have taken modern takes on it. You know, I've read modern mafia Hades, and you know, it's sort of the seedy underworld guy kind of Hades. Yeah. I've never really read one that I thought was just hit it the way I saw the myth happening in my head. And so it really just kind of started as like a passion project. I'm going to try to write that. I'm going to try to write. I've read a lot of fan fiction. I've read a lot of retellings, whether they were Greek mythology or modern retellings or whatever. I'm going to try to write one the way I see it in my brain playing out. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And it took on a subplot with Helen of Troy, and that snowball just started rolling downhill and didn't stop. So
always where it was going and where the story, how it was going to end, or did it kind of shift along the way?
No, not at all. So it started out when I thought, now I can kind of laugh at it, when I thought I was done with the book. I was like 60,000 words. We ended at 113,000. So obviously it changed quite a bit. But when I thought I was like done was like a year and a half ago. And I had what I've been at that point, I was considering like, this is a full draft. Like, this is a book. It's 60,000 words. Like, this is a book. And that was before I had an editor and realized exactly how wrong I was. But it really was just focusing on the Hades and Persephone portion of the myth. And really, I had thought, I love the movie Troy, like you said. I love that movie. It's a great movie. And I kind of
such a good movie.
I've always hated Paris.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. She had no idea, and I was like,
not a fan so far.
I texted her. I was like, "Oh my God, it's perfect." It's such a
So Troy came out in like 2005, and even when I watched it like back as like a preteen or whenever I first saw it, probably a teenager, I was like, "Ew, how like irresponsible could you possibly be? Like to just run off in the sunset and everybody dies and it's fine." And so I was like, I've always really wanted someone to make him the villain, and so I thought, well, how cool would it be if this is sort of unwinding in the underworld, and then you get snippets of some kind of thing that's happening above, and what I immediately kind of jumped to was like, what if Helen of Troy was there? And she's the captured queen. So you kind of have a captured queen in the underworld and then a captured queen in very different circumstances in the mortal world. And they're kind of playing out in really different ways. But both of these women are trying to gain agency, and you're getting to see those myths sort of unfold, but also sort of intertwine and touch a little bit. And so it just kind of went from there. And then a few more subplots got added in with Hephaestus. He's kind of got a big he's sort of a hinge in the Trojan War. He's got this interesting role where stuff happens in and around him that touches on the Trojan War. And the more I've researched that, the more I love that. And thought, well, he's this tortured figure. I'm gonna throw him in too.
I loved that subplot so much because I didn't know anything about those characters, and it was like so exciting to be like, they're kind of normal too, and everybody else is weird. Okay, I can relate to him a lot.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. His is probably my favorite character arc of the whole book.
Yeah,
it really is. So, and again, I credit Jess with that because my editor, because she's the only reason they ended up with a really sweet ending. Because I originally had it was a little abrupt. So she helped me play it out a little bit.
I loved it because it was I think what I loved most about all of the character relationships is that they were kind of opposite sides of the coin, but also so complementary to each other, because like they Helen being beautiful and so, otherworldly, but then Achilles being powerful and otherworldly. And at the same time, they both have very little choice and little agency in their own lives. Same thing with, Persephone and Hades. They have a prophecy. There's no way to break this. It's going to happen. And so I found it really enjoyable, the character growth and development of the relationships, because it wasn't just, flash. It was substance. There was absolute depth to that, and I loved it.
Right. Well, thank you. I'm so glad.
Yeah. And also, the only reason I liked Paris in the movie was because I was obsessed with Orlando Bloom because of Lord of the Rings, like Empire of the Caribbean. But now as a grown-up, I'm like, Hector, you poor guy. Your brother was so stupid.
Look, but Eric Bana was Hector in Troy. I was here for some Hector.
Now, as a 35-year-old obsessed person, I'm like, yep, Hector was the one.
After this convenes, I need to watch that movie.
You do. And the music is also really good. It's all really good. Like,
cast.
Oh yeah.
Diane Kruger is in there. She will forever be Helen of Troy in my brain. Diane Kruger. So she was Abigail in that movie with the Constitution, Nicholas Cage.
National Treasure.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I'm sold. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. Sure.
Because she's so it's like an unconventional beauty. Like she's gorgeous, but like if you like look at her, you're like, she don't look like anybody else. And it's I love her as an actress. And then Brad Pitt. Come on.
Oh, come on. Like, it was like,
can't argue with that.
And also, is it Sean Bean Odysseus? I think he is, because he doesn't die in that movie. And you're like, that's not normal for you. Sean Bean dies in every movie, except for that one. And that actually brings me to my next question. So the ebook has the epilogue that focuses heavily on Odysseus and, the origin of his romance with his wife. So is that the plan, is to move on and eventually cover his story as well?
Yeah. So not even really eventually. Book 2 went off to editing last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, it's very much in the works.
Okay.
Tentative plan is, of course, it's only a first draft. So tentative plan is next summer. Probably May or June. Probably May or June at this point is what I'm thinking. So,
That's so cool.
And like you said, the epilogue sets it up, and so the Trojan War is sort of where Darkness Bloom focuses on the Trojan War. So it's sort of a really loose retelling of the Iliad, and so this will be a retelling of the Odyssey, where Odysseus is trying to get home, back to Ithaca, where he's the king, and his wife has been there, sort of holding down the fort for a while, and now there's a bunch of men there trying to marry her because of the throne's sitting there empty. And so it's him trying to get back and face these trials and tribulations and everything while he's trying to get back. So that's the general plan. Yeah.
I love that.
Really, really close to the release of this book. We're super close to the release of this book.
No, actually, we are very close. Like, how are you handling that? Like,
yeah,
as a person, because like you said, you have a day job and it's not this. So like, how are you handling this?
So I'm very excited. I'm very ready for it to get here.
I got it.
But no, it's been great. You know, I think I think you had asked me about the release date coming up when we got so rudely interrupted.
Yeah, like how you're handling it.
It's exciting. So I'm very lucky that I don't work full time anymore, but I'm still a part-time attorney. And so I have a number of deadlines with that. And then of course being releasing a book is not an effortless thing. So you have lots of marketing and lots of just dialoguing with people like you fine folks and just trying to make sure people are aware. And so that's definitely the biggest thing I did not know going in to writing book, is that writing the book is actually the easiest part of being an indie author. And so it's fun and it's exciting because you have so much creative control. You have all the creative control. Yeah. But then the bad side of that is that you have all the creative control. And so there's like not a web of people sort of pushing all in the same direction, but it's been great. And I will say I've been very lucky to have found my people, my group of folks who are just sweet and lovely and have been a huge support system for me and encouragement to me, especially in the last month when things are really heating up. And so that's just been an enormous blessing, and has turned sort of that anxious knot that lives right here into an excited knot. And so, but all that to say, yes, I'm ready for a release day to get here.
Yeah, I bet. We're
so do you have hard copies in your possession, or are they coming still?
Yeah, so I have hard copies in my possession, which is great. So paperbacks right now.
Holding your own book, like that's right. So surreal.
Yes, my husband videoed the first time I opened a box, like it was the proof, and I was like, I don't even care. There's typos in here. I already know that. I already found them, but I don't even care because it's such a sense of accomplishment, that you've actually written something and you get to hold it, which is just really cool. So, but yeah, so I have paperbacks in my possession, and then ebooks are on pre-order, and signed paperbacks are on pre-order too. I wish there was a better pre-order option from Amazon, but it just wasn't something we figured out this round. Maybe for book 2, we'll have that figured out, but can't know everything about everything. So this is where we are for book 1, and it's a good place to be. I'm happy to be here.
I mean, you're at the finish line. Like you essentially you're in that last stretch, and that's really impressive, because when you said that writing the book was the easiest part, I was like, see, and I have problems writing. So that's why I'm like, really? Terrifying.
Yeah. It really is. And I will say it changes the way you look at book 2, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the part I really need to be, the writing and the copy editing, which is the part that I just stressed about over book 1. I'm like, this is the fun part. You need to do this part, because this is like the fun part, it's the marketing and the, just the kind of what's next. It's always what's next. And so that's the part that takes a little bit of getting used to. So, but it's still been fun. It's still been good. I think I'm lucky to be where I'm at. And again, I've had an amazing support system. And so that makes it so much more fun,
Yeah, absolutely.
than trying to run the race alone. Goodness, that would be hard.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that's really common in the like self-publishing, indie publishing like realm is you got to have your people. You got to have your support system of people that have your back. Because it's a lot of work, and also it's your baby. Like you don't have to give it away to somebody you don't know yet. Like you can,
it's a personal thing for sure.
Yeah. We say it takes a village to raise children. Well, you're developing a book that is going to be read by other people that you don't know. Like, you deserve to know who's around you and keep that island tight, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Piggybacking a little bit off of like the indie conversation, what advice would you give someone who would want to maybe give this a try?
Yeah. I think number one, find your people. Feedback is enormous. You know, it's too hard doing wearing all the hats is too hard. It's too hard being the writer, the author, the writer, the editor, the copy editor, it's too hard, the proofreader. It's too hard doing all that. You got to outsource some of it. And it's also expensive. So not everybody can outsource all of that. And so I was lucky enough that I was able to outsource most of the editing and the proofreading and, all the stuff those different things that I felt like I need somebody else to look at this, but it's really expensive for indie authors. And so I would just say, find your people, because those are the people who will give you, if they have your best interest at heart, they'll give varnished feedback that says, hey, here's where you could lean into this, whether it's in your writing, whether it's in your marketing, whether it's, hey, you should consider doing this to help, build momentum, whatever it might be. Definitely find your people. Definitely enjoy the process. Because here I am at the end of it, and I'm kind of wishing I had enjoyed it more instead of stressing out so much about what I didn't know. But I think that's also just a natural, like I said, you can't know everything about everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're in the same boat. We have no idea what we're doing, no clue, and we're stressed and scared. But I have a blast doing this, so
just to get at the nerves out and make sure we were good.
Like, we were just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what we don't know or need. And the same with books is because, you're trying to take an idea that is yours and you want it to be yours, but you're constantly surrounded by the feedback and also the unintentional feedback. And that has to be a lot to parse through by yourself. So having a group to be like, no, you had it right. Is probably very, very helpful.
Yeah.
For sure that. And then you also have so many timelines. So you have the writing of the book. And so I had a specific timeline that I wanted to follow for book 1 because a new book 2 was coming. And so all of that was on like a pretty specific timeline. And there were times where I stressed myself out just unnecessarily. Like give yourself grace, you know, you're figuring it out. You can't know everything about everything. And so, add cushion to your timelines for sure, because you're working, again, with freelancers who also have lives. So you're working with editors and proofreaders and cover artists and, your ARC team. If you have an ARC team, you're working with your street team. If you have a street team, come on, girl. You're working with all these people who are, and some of them are doing this completely out of the goodness of their hearts, who are just, excited with you and for you and want to make sure the world knows that you had a story to tell and you told it and you got to participate in this just beautiful and brutal craft. But there are lots of timelines, and so definitely put in some cushion. So you're
Yeah.
Because that was actually one of the questions we were talking about. Is like, how do you force the process when you have deadlines? Like, it's a creative thing. And you said it was an outlet, kind of something, to help you after, a long, rough work day or something. How do you push yourself? Because I have a hard time doing the things I love when I'm tired. Like, I would love to know what the secret is.
Take breaks. So she said, and I can't remember who it was. I want to say it's Rebecca Yaros. I think she said reading is breathing in and writing is breathing out. And I have found that to be so true, because there were times where I had to edit and I was like, I don't have another pretty word in my brain, but I have to edit, I have to edit. And so there were times where I really felt like that. And it was just sort of came down to just discipline, just pushing through. And a lot of times I was doing that really, really early in the morning because I'm a mom. I have 3 little boys. They're 5, 3, and 2. There's two of them. But so I was doing it really early in the morning because that's when I had time without these little munchkins running around. And then I had work. And so anyway, I think it's developing a pattern that you can live with because you're a person who needs breaks. And then also now what I'm doing differently for book 2 is like scheduling breaks. If you've gone through the book one time, put it down and don't look at it again for 2 weeks. You got to get eyes on something else or else it'll make you a little bit crazy. A little bit upset.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because it's like with anything, like you can be too close to something, too close to the project. Yeah, and it's you've been working on it, you're pouring everything into it. You can be way too close. I know that like my profession, I'm a special education teacher, and so I write a lot of reports all the time. And I understand running out of adjectives, running out of eloquent formal language, dialogue. I can't. How is another way for me to phrase this? I cannot. And you have to take a step back because being too close, you get blinders. You can't see everything. Yeah.
Yeah. You start missing the forest for the trees. You start where the comma is supposed to go, and it's like you need to
like, do I spell this word?
No, that happens more often than not where you're like, that word doesn't look right. And you're like, no, it is right. But it doesn't look right. But no, it is.
Where I graduated. I know that Grammarly is proving me wrong, but I promise I did.
English as a language is a very hard language, okay? I have my minor in English. I know, it's hard. It's okay. Yeah, I was like, trying to teach kids how to use a semicolon is a nightmare. So I get it. It's okay. Use Grammarly. It's fine. I'll take it.
For sure. My word was rain. Rain, like the reins of a horse, like reigning as a king and then rain falling from the sky. I was like, I felt like I was hallucinating at one point trying to figure that out. And that was when I was like, you gotta put this manuscript down and go do something else, touch some grass or you're like, take a walk or do something else.
This right now.
My life. Yeah, move away.
You're kind of like, I can't do this right now. Clearly, I'm starting to lose it just a tiny bit, like just a bit. I'm gonna have to move on. So I have a question for you. So what would you say the hardest part was about writing this specific book? Like you mentioned that, you had a pretty good idea. You thought it was done until it wasn't. But like, what was the hardest part? Was it getting up the courage to give it to someone else and taking feedback? Was it a specific instance or character you just couldn't get? Like, what was the hardest part?
Yeah. So, that's a loaded question. So I think the hardest part for me, there were several, but I think the hardest part would have been knowing when to stop editing. And I've talked to other authors who've also dealt with this. You want it to be perfect. You want every single combination of words to be perfect, or at least I did. And so I would go through and just be looking for like sentence fragments. Or I would start out with the manuscript and say, okay, I'm just going to look for errors, misspelled words before I start proofreading. Just going to look, and then I would end up rewriting half a scene. You have to stop. At some point, you have to stop.
Yep. Or you'll just keep snowballing and going.
You will go and go and go. And so, just kind of stemming that perfectionist tendency that I think a lot of authors have. It's not going to be perfect. But it's yours. Okay. It's yours. And it's the story that you came out to tell. And so at some point, I think you have to step back and say, did I tell the story that I came here to tell? Am I happy with the voice that's in it? And so that was definitely the hardest part for me. And you mentioned, when I was done, it was 60,000 words. It was like, essentially 60,000 word first draft. That's what it was. And now I cringe thinking about my first drafts. But I, at that point, I had thought, well, I'm ready to start querying. And I think a lot of, young authors and new authors make that mistake. You jump the gun. You've done this monumental task. You've actually finished a book, and you think, I'm ready. Well, it's actually a first draft. So it is a big accomplishment, but it's actually a first draft. And so, at that point, I had sent out like maybe 20 queries. And of course, it was like crickets. And then I really was just like, I'm not happy with the way the book left off. Like, I'm not happy with the voice that's in it because I don't feel like it's mine. I think I can bring a higher quality of storytelling. I feel like I can bring a higher, a more beautiful way of telling it, a better prose to it, essentially. And so it's kind of taking a look in the mirror and saying, I want this to be, like, if we're going, we're going. And so I want this to be the best that it can be. And that was also the thing when I said, I need an editor and someone else who can kind of, look at this critically, give me good guidance. And then once I got Jess's feedback, it unlocked like a whole world of writing to me. I would say that's when I became an author, as a writer. Just going through that process with her and being able to brainstorm and get ideas and see feedback and critique. That was just an unreal experience for me. I would love to go back and experience that for the first time again. And from getting that critique, I really just kind of set a challenge for myself at that point that I want to tell the most evocative and immersive story of these myths that I can. And I want to tell it in the most beautiful language that I'm capable of crafting. And so that was the challenge I kind of put out for myself, and I just said, I don't care if it sells 3 copies. That's what I want to be able to accomplish for myself. And at this point, we've sold more than 3 copies. Good, but
you did it for you.
Yeah, you got to stay true to the reason you did this to begin with was for yourself. So it's like, you got to stay true to that in some way.
And I think that reflects in your writing as well. It doesn't feel like it's written for people just to read. If that makes sense. I really loved your voice in it and the emotion that you put in it. It's probably one of the most eloquently written books I think I've read.
Your prose is really impressive for something that's maybe well-known topic. Like the prose is very unique. Like it's very good. Yeah.
Like the myths and the storyline aside, like the prose was fantastic.
You were right. It was immersive. It was like I was like, but it wasn't too much. It was super well balanced to the point where like world building was present, but it wasn't like didn't take up the first 50% of the book.
I didn't have to learn like the entirety of Greek lore prior to the starting of the book, and I liked that. So going into it, I was like, oh God, is this going to be like history? Like, am I going to feel like I'm in school? And it didn't feel that way at all. And I really liked that.
I think the settings are relatively familiar for even if people have sort of a tangential understanding of Greek mythology. That definitely helps with the world building and sort of the on-ramp that there's probably some type of familiarity, with Olympus and the underworld. So anyway, but I'm glad to hear that came through.
Really good.
And I feel like the characters all have very genuine, unique voices as well. Like I this is something I've learned as I've gotten older that like I think that if books can be read aloud or made into like visual format, that's another good mark of a decent, delicious novel. Because like not everybody reads well. Some people are more visual. And like I've recently gotten an audiobooks, and the way that you wrote the dialogue for your characters, I could hear, even if it was a single narrator, I could figure out how they would differentiate that because of the gravity of how that character's like persona came through. Like I could tell when it was Achilles, even if it never said, Achilles said, like I knew, I would know. But their voices were so unique, but genuine. Like they felt like that is what somebody would say. Like that is how they would respond, not how we think the audience wants them to respond. Like that's books that are written for their fans are still enjoyable, but I prefer them to be written for their purpose, which you had a story to tell, and I think you knocked it out of the park. I really did.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you heard about the dialogue, because I'll be honest, I'm a descriptions girl. I'm not. Dialogue's hard to write. Dialogue's really hard to write. I've heard people say that you fall in 2 camps. You're either like a descriptive writer or you love dialogue. I think
you had a good balance too, like because it's very well balanced. Like you're not reading through pages of description and like inner monologue going, oh, is there people? Are there people in here? And then you're also not reading a script. So like, it was very well balanced in that way. Yeah, I appreciated that. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait to see fan art when it happens, because the underworld just sounds so cool and terrifying, but also very cool. That I just want to see.
Beautiful. Like that's how I picture it in my mind. Is like this really wild kind of landscape that's beautiful. At least portions of it. Somebody told me one of my favorite reviews that I've read so far, someone had said kind of like you had said that not super familiar with Greek mythology, watched the Hercules movie from Disney.
Yeah.
Like what an upgrade from when Hades was blue and like the underworld.
True.
And I laughed my butt off reading that review. But I wanted to give a little bit better of a picture, and I picture it as being like beautiful.
You just
like
described it that way too.
In the gothic beauty, like the beauty that is death. Like I mean, it's a part of life. Yeah. I imagined it having these boundaries that were subtle. Like you would pass into it into another part and be like, oh, this feels a little different. Okay, and it's very natural flow. Yeah,
I really liked how like even like when Hades described his like heart, I guess, in all of it, and like how there was still beauty in that, and like he was doing everything in his power to make it. I was like, this is so cool. Yeah. This is so much better than just like I'm gonna suck all the bad people down to the dark part of the world.
Right.
You know, because that's kind of all I was like, I don't know. So I really liked seeing like that side of him, and it like was giving. I don't know if you're like an ACOTAR girl, but like everyone was looking at like Valeris as being like super like dark and scary and bad, but it's actually like, kind of pretty, and like it has like this little meaning behind it. And I was like, oh, I can see that. I
will totally take that. Person.
That's and I felt the same way because it's
scary.
Well, and how comfortable the goddess of spring is there. Yeah, like that just speaks volumes to the fact that it may be dark, it may never really have a sunrise, but there's a beauty and a peace to it that is still appealing to the goddess of spring. Like that alone, I think, is like it gives me. I can understand why in that realm and that place of people, that time period, acceptance of death was probably a lot easier just because you might be going somewhere real calm, just peace.
Right.
You know? Right. I do have to tell you though that in the book when towards the end with Hector, I did cry. I want you to know just a little bit.
Look, I did cry.
And then I also said, yeah, get him. Like I just want you to know that it was so beautifully written, but also so emotional because it's like, you know, nobody wants to say goodbye to anyone, but then there's also like this joy of like, we get to be in the afterlife together. Like,
right.
You know, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So what I think, I almost didn't put that in there because you're dealing with that's just like one of those parts of the script that's like, knife through the heart.
Yeah.
It's one of the portions that's knife through the heart. Like it has to go in the book, you know?
Yeah.
So ultimately I did include it. And now it's one of my favorite, that reunion is one of my favorite portions. Yeah. And then of course you have like the retribution that follows and you're like, come on. But now that's one of my portions, but writing it and not even just writing that scene, writing the fact that his wife is still living while Hector's wife's still living. While his son, while they're both reunited and she's not there, I was like, as a wife and mom, I was like, it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah. But I think what I really loved about the retribution too was like in this world, men communicate through violence, but like women don't. And like, so Persephone's given the opportunity to like pass judgment and she could go totally wild, like cutthroat. And instead she chooses something that's so clever, but also so damning that like, it's actually more powerful because it doesn't inflict actual physical pain. It's psychological pain. And I was like, that's a lady for you. We're tricksy when we need to be. And I love that because also, Helen demonstrated that too in some of her decisions and how she navigated this really messed up situation that she found herself in. And even the other female characters as well, like trying to work the system behind closed doors, but not necessarily in a backstabby, tearing down women kind of way. It was really, really great. Like it's empowering. Yeah, I love that a lot. And like I said to you in our chat, Demeter, man, she's just she's got so many mom, she's got a lot of trauma. She's got a lot of trauma, but still brought out all those wounds with mom. I was like, ooh.
Persephone doesn't have any like mom, like she doesn't have mommy issues, like she has like daughter issues.
Yeah.
Let her go.
In her defense though, like Zeus is a huge player. Like
Oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what I include. So, like you said, like Demeter, I started out the book and I was like, I'm gonna give her an arc because it's not fair for her to just be like the meddling mom. You know, I
Yes.
tried and I tried, and it just didn't pan out. Like I couldn't make it happen. And so it is what it is. You know, we come to some kind of resolution at the end, I think, between an understanding. I'm going to call it an understanding.
Yes.
That's the resolution that I tried to do a full offer. I was like, I got too many other characters. I can't have her. So, but anyway.
Yeah, that was just one more thing.
Yeah, it just is what it is. That's just her. So, but yeah, Zeus,
Well, I
like,
think it's
is totally to blame.
Always. Like, come on, man. It's bad enough that almost everybody is one of your half children. Like, can we just calm down a little
I didn't really know until I was and I was like, wait. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like all of
it's in all kinds of weird things happening up. I mean, but what else do they got to do? They're immortal. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Busy. It's fine. But yeah, like I think that even though Demeter didn't really get like a revitalization, I think that the way that you wrote her character still allowed for the characters around her to really like rise up and kind of distinguish themselves from other interpretations. Like Persephone's voice, she could have easily been whiny and like, everyone lies to me and I don't know anything. But instead she was like, take the information, feel the feelings. Okay, now we get to business. And I think that's like more indicative of what reality really is we don't have a lot of time to wallow or like feel betrayed, especially by family, because like, you know, she was so closeted and you know, protected. But then Hades also being someone that is shoved into the darkness out of sight, he was super kind and welcoming and like showed her that not everyone is as bad as they seem. And I thought that was really, really like truthful, very truthful. And it did make me feel okay about Demeter towards the end because their relationship and how they perceived the situation was realistic. It wasn't mean. It wasn't cruel. We're gonna piss off your mom. It wasn't like that. It was he's got some issues. Let's compromise. Let's figure out a way to deal with this. And again, it's very adult. It's very realistic. And I love that in fantasy because I use it to escape. But a little reality is okay. The good kind.
Yeah, I think you have to, or at least not you, but me. I think I resisted a couple things. I resisted making Persephone whiny because I'll be honest, that's one of my icks in reading is when
we've read a lot of whiny FMC books and I was very happy he wasn't.
it makes me feel weary reading it. So I tried to make her not whiny, but also like it's a betrayal, right? She's experienced like a betrayal. And so you have to give, and that's part of her arc is that she's in this marriage and now, you know, he's trying to hide the reality of the circumstances. And so, you know, there has to be some kind of reaction to that. Otherwise she's just kind of sitting there. So, I mean, I tried to give her arc life and meaning without making it super whiny. And similarly, without making, you know, I tried to make sure Demeter isn't so vindictive. It's just like, you know, like meddling mother-in-law kind of. So we did our best.
Yeah. Is there like a theme or a specific message that you want readers to really take away after they read this?
Yeah. You know, it's a great question. I think there's several themes that kind of arc throughout it. And I think you see this play out in their characters, you know, between with Hephaestus's story. I think that speaks to just devotion and unconditional love. With Achilles, you see as sort of a restoration of honor and him seeking peace. I think if, you know, through his love with Patroclus and his grief with that, and then also him, you know, sort of becoming an ally for Helen and her struggles, and then he serves as sort of a rock for her at the end. It's kind of a spoiler, but so I think if there's a message to be, there's certainly messages to be gleaned through, but I think the one that I would stick to the most is that, you know, peace and love can be found in all sorts of places. And it doesn't always look the same, depending on, you know, who you are and who you're dealing with. It doesn't always look the same, but there's you know, in love, it can take so many different forms and appear in so many different ways. And to me, that's the beauty of the story, is the way these characters go through their own journeys to finding it. But ultimately, most of them do. So that would probably be my number one thing.
I like that.
I love that. I do. I love that. That's so great. Do you think, so you said you were talking about book 2, it's in the works, we're working through it. Is the series projected to be longer, or do you have other ideas for different projects, standalones, that kind of thing on the horizon?
I do. So in theory, very tentative theory, this will be a 4-book series.
Okay.
So, yeah, each focusing on, and one of the main questions I've gotten from people who've reviewed it early is book 2 going to be, Hades and Persephone kind of moving into life together and parenthood, and I want to see that play out.
Yeah.
And while I love those themes, I will say that I am trying to kind of stick to the bones of the myth. And while I'm going to revisit characters and try to lead them and carry their stories forward, I am kind of trying to stay true to the myth itself, because once you get away from it, you get away from it. It's hard to go back. It's hard to backtrack once you do that. And so, book 2, it's really going to be Odysseus's myth. And there will be characters appearing and going forward and having roles to play that are smaller. He's obviously the main character. Book 3 and 4 are outlined. Book 3 is started. And so those will kind of focus on other myths, and I won't give them away because they also are set up in the epilogues that'll be coming. But they also, I will say, each one focuses on a major romantic moment in Greek mythology. So the myths that I love, that I've always been like, ooh, warm and melting, hearing them. Each book focuses on a major romance in Greek mythology. So, but right now,
it's going to be so fun.
Right now it's outlined to be 4.
Yes.
So we'll see how we feel. That.
You don't commit to anything quite yet. It's just the idea stage,
That's right.
And that's awesome because, like I said, I think that there's a niche. There's room on the shelf for more books of this type of fantasy, of this type of. It's mythological. It's a little historical in that sense. It's familiar but unique in the way that it's being told. Like, I think that there's room for that. You've come in at the perfect time. There's room for you. My shelf needs more stuff. Let's go.
It's funny. It seems like things move in waves, and of course, it's based on what readers want, right? Because you don't want to write something there's no market for. But it feels like a few years ago there was a big Greek mythology push. You had, the Song of Achilles, which is huge, and Ariadne and Jennifer Saint, and you had major authors releasing really big books. And it does feel like it's been kind of like crickets on the Greek mythology front, because you have things like ACOTAR and there's a huge Fae push and all the Shadow Daddies. The Shadow Daddy as much as the next one, but I also love Greek mythology, and so I read the book I wanted to read.
And we can be real. Hades is the granddaddy, Shadow Daddy. Like we're going from the beginning of time. It was really him.
Back in ancient Greece.
It's like Hades had to do the work. In order for Rhysand to fly and Xaden to do the things, he had to rule the underworld first.
Put in some work for that title, for sure.
Exactly.
That's right.
Oh no, that's very exciting. I'm excited for that. So we have a funny question for you. So most of the time, when we're hunkering down to do something creative, I'm a nester. I like to create a nest. I like things to be nearby. What is your beverage of choice when you're really in it to write? Like you're leave me alone. The blinders are on. What would you be sipping on so you don't have to get up all the time?
Beverage of choice, either coffee, because I drink coffee all day long. So coffee. Or, do you know what ice sparkling waters? Do you know?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I could drink those all day long. I know I have a writing day coming up from 8 to 8. My fridge is full of those, and I just go one after another. For sure.
I love that. Well, because I kind of feel like a treat without being really bad. It feels like you're getting something good. Yeah,
that's right.
I love
it. like if I eat candy all day or eat something really good, I'll get tired, and so I stick with those. I'm a beverage gal, so I stick with those like all day long. That's the best. That's the best.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a drink gremlin. I always have at least 3 drinks near me at all times. Just
Same.
because you never know.
All the drinks.
Oh,
Always
same.
Diet Coke. Always Diet Coke.
Oh
yeah,
I love
you
it.
are a Diet Coke.
Oh,
That first it just hits different.
yes, it really does.
I did not realize there was such a following for the Diet Coke because it's coming out. Like people are talking about how they can taste the difference, and I'm like, I like Diet Coke.
But my friend to do a taste test of all different brands and see if I could figure it out, and I think I might.
I'm pretty sure you'll do just fine.
I love a Diet Coke, but a Diet Dr. Pepper, oh my gosh.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
a
cannot beat that. You cannot beat a Diet Dr. Pepper. I love it.
And it's surprising because Dr. Pepper has so many flavors. You think the diet flavor being added to it? No, it's good. It balances. It's still good.
It's so
Very
good.
good. Well, this has been so enjoyable. We had so
much fun
working with you.
So
And-
very much for coming on.
And I'm so excited to really, no joke, like read the rest, read everything.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Your prose is beautiful. It really, your spicy scenes are not like overtly graphic and like cringy. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Like, so when people always ask, like, you reading smut? And I'm like, no, I'm reading an adult fiction novel that has adult instances of beauty. Like, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Intimacy is beautiful. It doesn't have to be, you know, gross.
Yeah.
Like, you did very well.
You asked me the hardest part of writing the book at one point, and I would say crafting the spicy scenes, remembering your mom and dad are going to read them. And so
It's very good.
drawing board a couple times on that, and just remember that like I'm a person and I have a family out here, and they're all gonna fit and talk about it at Christmas, and so just being mindful of that. We went back to the drawing board a couple times on the spice and tried to make it. Also, just keeping it immersive with like the mythic tone. You don't want it to be. You don't want it to come like. We've had this lovely mythic tone the whole time, and then all of a sudden we're like way out in like 5 Chili Pepper world where things are getting real heated.
We're losing some of that. Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. Well, definitely, and it's also like you notice sometimes the verbiage that's used during the spicy scene between the characters can like completely pull you out of the entire situation. Like they wouldn't talk like that in these times, but they're talking like that in this instance. It can be very jarring, especially for people that aren't super comfortable reading spice. Like they want to get through it. Like, but there have been moments where I've been reading something and I'm going, nope, that
doesn't seem right.
Okay, wow, they went on for quite a few pages. Okay, like it's just not great. Not great. But
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to her like this, in every other instance, he's kind of got to hold that tone through the spicy stuff too. And we can't go all the way out here with the spicy.
Yeah, you get it. You get it.
It's like at one point when I was reading, I was like, can I pinpoint just one single villain, or is it like a collection of bad choices by selfish people? And truth be told, Paris is the villain because everything he does sets everything into motion. But obviously, like there are other players in the game, but like no, he consistently was like, nope, F that guy. Nope.
Yeah, consistently the worst.
Nope. Like even from the very first page where he's just like already acting like he's familiar with her, and she's like, this is weird. And I'm like,
yep. No.
You also know I just got here too, right? Like,
right.
We don't. This isn't.
This is your room.
Yep.
I loved it.
Yep.
I love it. She had all the thoughts and feelings that we would all have going.
Yeah, she did.
I don't think this
all
is
the red flags I can pour into that scene. I want all the
red
flags.
Yes.
The red flags
for sure. And because it's like at the beginning of the actual myth, it set the tone for her so well that she's in a foreign place and she has no control and she's literally just an object to everyone. And it was like that really, and I think that solidified her later, kind of like realization, connection with other characters in the story. It's like she's not just a thing. to be fought over. And I think that, like, that the way you wrote Helen was just so beautiful and it's just powerful to me. Like, I was so happy with her end because I was like, yeah, girl needs to find some peace. She really needs like
finding hope, because as where I'm at right now, things were looking a little dicey for her, and I wasn't sure where things were headed.
Like, she just
I was very happy to hear that she had a good ending.
She's actually one of those really interesting myths where there's like a million. So if you look back at Greek mythology, there's like a million different myths with Helen of Troy. And I actually didn't know that. I learned a lot about her in researching the book. I learned a lot about her, like even before Paris, there was Theseus. And so girls just had a bad time with men. But her myth is really open-ended in Greek mythology because there are versions she goes back to her husband voluntarily. There are versions where she actually passes away. There are versions, lots of different versions. And so it was really cool having a myth that was super open-ended where I could say, well, it's kind of like the world is your oyster to sort of take the portions of those myths that you want to kind of craft your own ending. It's so open-ended that there's no one set version for it. So I loved writing the story, especially when I learned all the backstory that I didn't know. I feel like everybody knows Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships, but just getting to kind of dig into her background and then getting to kind of craft her going forward was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, like I didn't know, like I think I learned some things from your research because I didn't know. And I actually was telling Emma right before we hopped on, like, I don't really know if I knew what happened to her. Like if it ever came out in like my studies in school or like in movies or other iterations, like do we know? Like, and I don't. So I loved your ending because I was like, it reminds me of a lot of like tragic heroes and like even like anti-heroes where like they've done a lot of stuff and they really can't live. Like there's nothing left for them, but they deserve to go out in one final shebang that also gives them peace. And Helen being a victim, literally, like she never got to do anything. She never got to do what she wanted. Let's let her choose this, but also it be a reward for doing the best she could. And that was really, really nice because her willingness to accept it, just be like, yep, that's fine.
What I really liked, and one of the best pieces, I give Jess, my editor, so much credit because she did just so much, help me with the character arcs, so much exploring different options and stuff. And one of the best suggestions that she had was for there to be some kind of bridge between the women. So what Hades does for Stephanie in taking her to the underworld, and it kind of echoes in the same resolution Helen receives, but at the hands of Persephone. And so it's just this really cool moment of like solidarity, among the women that I loved. I loved that. I loved writing it. I loved everything about it. I going back and reading it, I'm still like, sisterhood, solidarity.
I can honestly, I can see the fan art though. Like they're on either ends of the plane, essentially, having lived very similar lives in terms of just like that, like autonomy and the echo. And it's, it's beautiful because they find their own power in their ability to like choose. And I loved it. I love Persephone's heart. I mean, how can you not? But like, she sees that and is like, this isn't going to work out well. And we should do something since we couldn't do anything, and that needing to be helpful is just really great because at the end of the day, Helen didn't want any of the things that happened. Like she did not want any of this. She had deep shame and regret when she shouldn't, but how it goes. But I hope other people really love the characters that you've taken and given them such a fresh life to them. That, like I said, they feel real. And I honestly feel like you could drop them in any time period because of how well developed they are.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Last writing them. It was, I hope everybody enjoys reading them. I really do.
Oh, I have anything to say about it. No.
The world.
Yeah. You're taking source material that you're like giving new life in a generation of people that are coming back to reading. Like, talk about inspiring people to look out for those classics, like who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, it's really the timing. If the timing works out, it'll actually work out really cool for book 2 because we're I'm tentatively planning for June, May or June, depending on kind of how it breaks out. But the Odyssey movie is coming out next summer. Christopher Nolan doing the Odyssey as a movie, and I was like, I will be publishing this book next summer. Coming hell or high water.
Yeah, it couldn't be perfecter.
Honestly, I think that there's something going on because, like, that 2 weeks ago, didn't I tell you this, Emma? The planets physically aligned. We were in Hercules. And I'm like, this has to be a sign. And then you're telling me, and I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? I'm okay with it. I'm here for it. And that's really exciting because I think that it will inspire a lot of people to go back and want to check out other iterations, the original pieces, because Odysseus' story is so fascinating, but it is deep, and like, that's going to be so much fun to read.
I know nothing about it, so I'll be stoked.
Oh, girl. He goes through it.
I love it. It's a big story, though. It's a really big story. It's very broad, and so trying to figure out how to kind of get into one book that doesn't read like a dictionary is like a little bit daunting. So it's a much bigger story, but it's super fun to write. Such a cool one.
Yeah. And I think that like both the Iliad and the Odyssey inspire so much pop culture that, like, Emma, you probably actually know a lot of the Odyssey, but don't know a lot of the Odyssey. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be really exciting to see how that kind of comes out. And again, like how new generations will be drawn into the hold that is these wonderful stories that are really, it's amazing they were written when they were. Like, it's absolutely,
oh my gosh, right? They have stood the test of time and just been told and told. And so, what's really cool is just getting to kind of step into the tradition of storytelling that they have and getting to kind of play a tiny little role in that storytelling and getting to honor those myths. It's such a cool thing. It's such a cool thing. And so I'm wouldn't change it for the world.
So surreal, but amazing. Like, it's so cool. And it's like very cool to be able to like interact and talk with an author of something that I physically have. Like, I have the doc in my hand. Like, it's so exciting and really cool and surreal for us as fans, because like I look at authors as celebrities, like more so than actual like movie stars, because you've taken time out of your life to pour yourself onto paper that could stand the test of time. Like that's the most brave thing anybody could do. And then to be able to like interface and talk with your fans and people about it is so fun and so cool. Like, I told my husband about this and he's like, you're making it, And I'm like, I know, we're going to make it.
The thing. I texted her last night. I was like, it's happening.
We were just so excited because we're little fangirls going to the library, never thinking we're ever going to meet somebody who took the plunge and is publishing, you're going to see your book in a store and I'm going to see it and go, I talked to her.
Well, this is the podcast that I've ever done, and so I'm so tickled to be able to come on here. And I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts, but my husband listens to tons of podcasts, and so I was asking him, like, what do I need to know about podcasts? And he said, somebody is asking you to sit down and just talk about this book that you have poured all this time and energy into. And I was like, that's a good point. I don't even need pointers. Like, I can take it because I will talk about it all day long.
Like, you are the expert of your domain, and we are here to ask questions about it. And
it was wonderful.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time so much, and especially with you having such little ones running around. Like, we can imagine that it takes a village to take that time away and write, let alone talk to us.
I so enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. So I can't wait to see what else you get on here, because there's so many good indie authors out there. There's so many great stories that deserve to be told, and I'm over here in the sidelines just rooting for them all. Really, after having gone through the process myself and seen just the time and effort that goes into it, I applaud every single one of them, especially people who've done it more than once, because oh my goodness, you survived the first one and you came back for more. So honestly, I'll be tuning in and watching, and I can't wait to see who y'all get next.
Oh, it's gonna be so exciting! Yeah, I'm real excited.
With you two on the socials of like when everything's posted and getting up and all the links and all of that as we edit it, because I want to make sure that I get it out quickly and before you release.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm here
Yes,
and I'm gonna be posting away. So believe me.
and
I'm
I
like,
will be too. Being
Where
part
are
of the art team, I have to help out, and I love helping out. Like,
Yes.
there's a small part of me that thinks we might discover something that's going
The
to
next
be
JK.
monumental, and I'm excited about that. That's why I've joined too many art teams. Too many.
oh, that's awesome. Like
But
my mom was asking me, she doesn't know anything about, she's a pharmacist, so she doesn't know anything about book publishing or anything. She was like, now what is an ARC reader? And when, like, do you pay them? And I was like, no, Mom, these people are doing this for free out of the goodness of their hearts. They're like just little book reading angels, and we need to all be thankful for them. But I mean, it just blew her mind, the amount of time and effort that ARC readers and street teams put into just hyping people up. I mean, just out of the goodness of their hearts. And I mean, like I said, I feel like I found my core group of folks, and boy, that changed the game. It really did. Just in terms of encouragement, in terms of stamina, in terms of being able to kind of keep keep your feet to the fire and keep going. Even when it felt like, oh gosh, I'm tired. So it's a game changer, and I'm will eternally be thankful for it. I really will.
Oh yeah. And I do think that you came in right at the right time, because there are still some corners of the internet that's not great, but like the book community is largely positive. Like, at least where Emma and I try to keep ourselves, we're cheerleaders first and foremost, and we're never gonna put somebody down for doing something so monumentally brave. Like, I couldn't do it. I don't think I've let anybody ever read anything I've written. So like, I applaud you. We are really excited to read what comes next, and maybe have you back for book 2.
I would love to. So as soon as we get again, I told my husband, I said, we're kind of in the downtime right now. As soon as this comes out, we're sort of in the downtime, and then we're going to be jumping right back in January. So it's sort of like, this is, even though the book's about to come out, it does kind of feel like this is like the moment where we catch our breath before we start ever. So, but I'm excited, and I know more going in this time. And like I said, having your people, it just changes everything. And so I'm glad to be here, and honored that y'all had me on. I really am.
Yeah, thank you again so much.
Hopefully
we will chat with you again next summer.
100%. You have fans here, so just let us know when you need us to yell, and we'll yell, because
absolutely.
I'm actually looking forward to sharing this with some of my students that have graduated, that are of age now, but that love this kind of storytelling. I'm not going to give it. I teach high school, like of age, like 22 now. Like, oh, you're old enough to live on your own. You can. How about you try this book?
Only 22.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God. Oh God. Okay. We have to go. I'm gonna have to go process some things. I forgot you were only 22.
Unfortunately, chart apparently, because I've been missing out on the Hot Gladiator stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you gotta go watch Troy. Go watch Troy.
That
casting director knew what they were doing. Go watch Troy.
Well, thank you so much again, and we will hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thank you.